right, welcome to the show. We got a special guest in the house. We got the one and only Coach Anthony Brown. What's going on, Coach?
Hey, how you doing? I appreciate you having me on.
Oh, man, it's a blessing to be in your presence, sir. So today I've titled today's podcast, Faith, Fatherhood, and Football. And, I'm hoping that that's the order it is in your life, because I was going to say football, fatherhood, and faith, but I don't want your faith to be last.
Right. So, I agree.
So I rearrange stuff. And if it ain't that way, then I'm going to come over there and tackle you. How about that?
Right. There you go. You should.
All right. So I like to always start the show off asking a couple rapid fire questions, all my special guests. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. And these questions are designed so that the audience gets a chance to know a little bit about you before you really give them the business.
Got you.
All right. So what's your favorite football team?
Pittsburgh Steelers.
All right.
NFL.
So just so you know, this is the part where I'm going to insert the boo. I just want you to know ahead of time. So you listen to the podcast later, you're like, he didn't have to go there. No, I'll let you know ahead of time. There's going to be a boo. All right. Well, you're about to say college, not next, I think. You said
college. Of course, Tennessee State, which is my alma mater. But,
go Big Blue.
Go Big Blue. But I'm a Bulldog fan as well, Georgia Bulldogs. So.
Yeah, I'm glad you broke up on that one because we don't want to hear that. It started to clip on you, and it's good. So maybe the audience doesn't know that you said that team. All right, favorite book in the Bible?
Ooh, man. I love Acts.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, tell me why you say Acts.
I mean, because it's kind of action filled. It's a lot of movement, and you kind of get a look at most of the apostles. And
that's cool.
I'm a huge Paul fan.
Yeah. It's kind of hard not to be a Paul fan.
Yeah.
I think I'm more of a Peter fan than a Paul fan, but and I think it's because of the underdog perspective is why I love Peter, but I love the transformation aspect of Paul. So yeah,
right. I
feel you on that. All right, high school nickname.
I knew you were going to ask me this. I knew it.
Let's have it.
My high school nickname was Meatloaf.
Meatloaf. Tell her where'd that come from?
My friend Josh Waller at the Boys and Girls Club just called me that randomly. Like it wasn't nothing coerced him to do it. He just did it. And it stuck. Yeah. Like of all things to stick, Meatloaf sticks.
Hey, I'm telling you,
to a pan.
Right, nicknames stick for real. Like there was dudes I was in the Navy with that we still call them by their nick. In fact, we probably don't even know their real names. We just call them by their nickname, and that was 25 years ago. Yeah. Yep. Meatloaf. It's good to have you, sir. Matter of fact, that's gonna be your intro. It's gonna be Coach Anthony Meatloaf. All right, favorite thing. Now, most people that might not know you doesn't know that you are a grill master or you are working your way toward that. What's your favorite thing to throw on the grill?
Ooh, I'm a beef rib connoisseur. I love beef ribs, of course, grilling chicken, getting into rib eyes a little bit.
So the beef ribs are the bigger ones, right?
Bigger one. It depends on the ones you get. You have beef back ribs and you have short ribs. Short ribs are a little bit more meatier. Those are the ones that kind of look like the brontosaurus ribs on the Flintstones. Yeah.
I'm gonna change the subject because I'm getting hungry. All right, favorite R&B singer.
Oh man, favorite R&B singer. I'm gonna go old school. I love Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Can't go wrong with the old school.
Yeah, I love the Elements.
Playing at TSU, I'm sure you heard that from the band quite a bit.
Oh, my gosh, all day long.
All right, so which Bible character do you feel resembles you the most and why?
I would say Paul, simply because he had he went through a lot in his experiences. He didn't start off as I think he was a guy that understood his purpose, but he was kind of trying to do what he wanted to do at first until God had to knock him down and say, hey, look, your life is going to serve a bigger purpose and you need to do it my way. And I think in my life, I've always wanted to control things instead of being led by God. And that's one of the biggest things that I had to learn with my faith and my walk is to be led, by God.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, that's matter of fact, that's better than awesome. So that leads us into the meat of, since we're talking about meatloaf, let's go into the meat of today's podcast. Share with us a little bit about how you came to accept Christ as your Lord and Savior. How did that happen?
Well, I grew up in church. We were the family that was at church on Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday. My mom was not going to allow us to miss church. Like it was just that was the cornerstone of everything that we did faith-wise. So I was the kid that would remember the books in the Bible, read through the Bible, thumb through the Bible. And a lot of times I didn't know what I was reading, but something obviously was sticking in, I remember being baptized in 1990. So I was about 9 years old when I got baptized at John Wesley United Methodist Church, which is my home church.
So you've always been at the same church?
Pretty much until like college, when Mount Zion was on campus and things of that nature, going there, but always going to church, always finding somebody's church to go to. Yeah.
So that foundation was set. You stuck with the foundation, and you look up 20 years down the road and God is still guiding and leading.
Always.
All right. So what do you love most about coaching football?
Man, it's so much, but I think the relationships with the young men. And I think coaching is really about attempting or trying to take a young man where he can't take himself right now. So I think the building blocks of relationship and just having empathy, understanding where they come from, because there's a lot of coaches who really don't understand what our kids have to deal with now.
Yeah.
So, and where I coach now it's a contrast from where I coached at previously. With where I'm at Hillsboro, I could have the kid that's vacationing in Europe for the summer and a kid that had his door kicked in by the police the day before.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of diversity, and it's draining at times, but it's a good draining, I would say.
Yeah. And I love what you just said. It's taking him where he can't take himself right now.
Right.
And that's what coaching really is. I'll be honest. I thought I was going to coach until I was 100 years old,
really?
That they were going to bury me on the court. That's what I thought. And as soon as my son was born and I held him in my arms, I was like, I got to quit, because let me rephrase that. I like basketball a lot. I love my family. You know what I mean? And coaching didn't give me my identity. You know what I mean? Like some people, like coaching that's who they are. And if you take that away from them, it's almost like, what's my purpose in life now? You know what I mean? And so what I saw was I couldn't allow my son at that time to grow up without me in his early years while I'm concentrating on winning a basketball game. And at the same time, I couldn't afford to, because I had a couple coaches that said, don't resign, just cut back on some of your coaching duties. I'm like what? In order for me to be successful, where we are, I have to put 110% of me into this job. And I'll never forget, one coach was like, don't worry about watching film. I don't watch film. And I said, what? you have players that have a different caliber of thought process. I have players that if I don't watch film and show them film and break down film and have them write plays on this board and really show them from 8 different angles, I'm not going to be successful. No. You're going to be able to say, I want you to run down to the baseline, set a screen, pop up, make an L cut. And they're like, yes, ma'am. I say, run down to the baseline. They're like, okay, coach, which one's the baseline again? Like, you've been playing basketball for 5 years. You know the baseline, that's, and I just knew I couldn't give 100% to both. And so I decided to give 100% to the family, with the idea that if my sons turn out to not be athletes, I could always go back and coach. Yeah. And now that I've been away from it so long, man, I love being at home.
I've always been meaning to ask you that because, Cody, you were an excellent coach. You know, it's not like you got pushed out. You know what I mean? You were a very good coach.
Don't you make me cry on my podcast. I appreciate that.
But you are a very good coach, and just knowing how much I love coaching, it's the fact that you're willing to do that for your family says a lot about you.
Yeah. And you know what's funny? Like you said, you love coaching. I liked it a lot. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
I think that's the difference. Like one of my buddies loves golf. I like it.
Yeah.
So if it's too hot, I ain't going. He is. No. If it's too cold, I ain't going. He is. That sun even peaks out. Oh, let me go get a couple rounds of golf in. There's a difference. So the passion that you have for football supersedes the passion I had for basketball. Even though I liked it a lot, I couldn't. See, you're able to balance fatherhood and football in a way I could never balance basketball and family, because I hate losing so much. I would have sacrificed family. You're better at balancing it than I am. You see what I'm saying? So I just chose that I'm going to step back from this. And I just knew my limitations. You know, I want to win, and not to say that you don't, because I know you're competitive too. You want to win, but you're able to balance it better than I was. Yeah,
definitely. Appreciate it.
All right. So what do you think is the one greatest spiritual lesson that coaching football has taught you?
Oh, man, just resiliency, perseverance. I think football relates to life like tenfold. You know, you're going to get knocked down, even if you're the biggest, you're the strongest, you're the fastest. At some point in time, somebody's going to get you.
Right.
You know, and it's how you respond to that. And I tell my players this all the time, is that we can practice and we can run these plays and we can do these things too, but how are you going to respond when the other team makes a play? You know, and that's important because they practice too.
Right.
You know, they're practicing just like we're practicing, and we have to be able to take the good with the bad. A football game is full of highs and lows, just like a basketball game.
Yeah.
You watch an NBA game and someone's up 30 points, you turn back and it's tied up.
Man.
In 4 or 5 minutes. So it's a game of runs.
Yeah.
And the good teams handle bad times better than others. You know.
I like that. Great believers do as well, huh?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Man. Okay. Same question, but as it pertains to fatherhood, what's the greatest spiritual lesson you've learned through fatherhood?
Sacrifice, I would say. And we have an age-old question within my fraternity, which is commitment or sacrifice. Which one? To me, you can't have one without the other. You know, so have I sacrificed a lot of things for my sons? Obviously, yes, of course.
Right.
You know, so I can't do that unless I'm committed to something. You only sacrifice for things that you're committed to.
Say that one more time.
You only sacrifice for things that you are committed to.
Did y'all hear that, folks? Man, hey, that's a T-shirt right there, man. I like that. I like that. You only sacrifice for the things you're committed to.
Yeah. You know, when you really love, cherish, and care about something or someone, you're going to make time for it. You're going to do whatever you need to do for that entity in your life to be successful.
I love it.
And when it comes to my sons, like I was scared. And I you know, when my sons were born, I was like, man, I got like their life depends on what I do. I can't fail.
Right.
That's a lot of pressure, particularly as a black man. In general, we already have a lot of pressures. And then you add that pressure of, oh man, it's time to go get it.
Yeah, step that game up, huh?
Got to.
Now, how old were you when your sons were born?
I was 28.
28. Okay, so you're an older young man. It wasn't like you're super young.
Yeah.
You already had a couple million in the bank, you know.
I wish.
Now, in case the listeners don't know, you're the father of twins.
Yes.
What's that like?
Man, when I first heard the news that I was having twins, I'm going to be honest. I went outside, stood on the porch, and stared directly into the sun for about 10 minutes. I'm being honest. Like I was like,
that
and I
is
said
hilarious.
to myself, God has to have a sense of humor to give
Hilarious.
me twins of all people.
Oh,
But
that is
I
funny.
think he obviously understood that I could handle it. You know, I didn't
Yeah.
think I could handle it, you know, at first, but my mom told me I could, and she was a big support system prior to her passing. And I think just the foundation that she laid, my mom would help, but she wouldn't do too much now.
Right.
Like she was coaching me. He was coaching me in regards to these are the things that you have to do. Mom's going to show you, but you got to get out there and make it happen.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that for her because, I mean, I just look at some of the things I do and I'm like, man, this is some stuff my mom would do.
Right.
You know, so.
Hey, you either in the house or you out the house.
right.
Who left this water running?
Air conditioning the whole neighborhood.
Yeah, buddy. All right. So thinking about that as a father of twins, what have you gathered about how God handles his children? Because I'm sure your sons have a lot of similarities being twins, but they're also different. So thinking about how God handles us as his children, what have you learned about God as it relates to from being the father of twins? What have you learned about God from that as it relates to how he handles us?
Okay. It's like this. We're both teachers, and we know in classrooms we have to use differentiated instruction, right? Because we have kids that learn differently. And we're all God's kids and we all learn differently, and he understands that. So he taps in most of the time or all the time to how we pay attention or how we decipher information. With my sons, it's the same thing. One is a little bit more outspoken. One is a little bit more cerebral. He thinks about it first. The other one's like, nah, I don't like that. You know, the other one's like, well, maybe we can do that. Like he kind of thinks it through.
Problem solver.
Yeah, he's a problem solver, you know. So I think understanding how each one of them operates is important. And that goes back to the relationship piece.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And always,
You know that song by Tasha Cobb, He Knows My Name?
I believe I've heard that. Yes.
Okay. Well, if after we finish the podcast, I recommend you just watch it on YouTube. But that song has always blessed me because I think about how, like you just said, God knows us individually, you know, and he knows what you need and what I need. So he puts on you what you can handle. And he puts on me what I can handle. And like you said, when you went out and you stared in the sun and you're like, the Lord must have a sense of humor. I'll never forget, I heard Miles Monroe say something, Pastor Miles Monroe, who passed away years ago. He says that when you're going through a tough time in life or the toughest time of life, it shows you what God really thinks of you, which was to say that if you're in a situation that you think you can't handle, but God is saying to you, you got this. Trust me, I wouldn't put it on you or allow it if you couldn't handle it. And since I'm allowing it, you got this. So as a father, and your boys are 9?
10.
Yep. Your boys are 10 now. So they have endured you have endured 10 years now. And the first moment you were like, I don't think I can do this. And now you've made it 10 years with God's help. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you've got great boys. It's not like these boys are growing up and they still are lacking in all these areas because you are a father who's guiding. You're a father who is coaching them, you know, mentally, physically, spiritually. You're giving them exactly what they need to be successful in this world. And it's because you've leaned on God all along the way. Yeah. And like you said, your mom guided you, but she didn't do it for you. And that's the key, even with coaching. Like you said, I can lead you to water, but I can't make you drink. Right. You know, and if I do force you, like, you know, the old saying, I can teach you to fish, or I can feed you a fish now and you'll eat today. But if I teach you to fish, you'll eat the rest of your life. So your mom guiding you just a little bit. And now you try it. Yeah. Now you try it. And
now
boom,
it's on you.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, speaking of, since you mentioned your mom, judging by your social media posts, I've watched over the years, your parents had a huge impact on your love of athletics and your love of God. if it's not too difficult to explain and express, share with us a little bit about what they did, what they said or did that has led you to where you are now.
Okay. Those who don't know, my dad passed in 2005, maybe a week or two after I graduated undergrad. My mom died 10 years exactly to that day that he passed.
Exactly to the day?
Yeah, pretty much a day or two.
Wow,
a day or two.
I did not know that.
Yeah, 10 years after he passed. So with my dad, it was kind of unexpected. Wasn't feeling well. Went to the hospital. My mom called me and was like, they're doing CPR on your dad. I'm like, what? Okay. Get to the hospital. He's already gone. So that was tough. And I learned a lot from my mom through that situation, dealing with the man that she loved, passing. And I think it kind of like, it's not that my mom and I didn't have a great relationship, but it took our relationship to another level. And I didn't think that was possible, but it absolutely was. Fast forward a little bit, 2014, find out my mom has cancer. Now, my mom wasn't a person that would drink or smoke or anything. She didn't do any of that, but developed cancer somehow. And I think for a while that she knew, but she kind of didn't let me know at first. So going through the battles with chemo and just, it hurt me because I was kind of here at the forefront. My brother lived in Georgia at the time. And, I was kind of dealing with everything, with the home, the bills, all of those things, which is kind of all preparation for things that I'm doing now. So, and it's an unfortunate way to have to prepare for things, but
right.
I believe God allows things to happen for a reason. And my mom was at peace. Of course, no one likes to see anyone suffering from cancer, and that's just tough to see, and it was tough, just helping her do certain things that she couldn't do later on. It was tough.
Yeah.
But I think it's made me the man that I am today. And I think it's helped me transcend to be the man that I've become. But just to get on what my parents instilled in me, my dad was the guy that was like, if you don't work, you don't eat. He always told me that a father should go without for their family to go with.
Yeah.
My mom was the support system to him, through them losing jobs, gaining jobs, like they never wavered. There was a portion of my life where we lived in a sleazy hotel. We lived out of a car for a while. My mom never wavered on my dad. He was always working hard. They was always working hard, so that's just a little tidbit of some of the things that I have been through throughout my life. My life hasn't been a crystal stair, but I wasn't going to allow that to be an excuse for me to not do what I'm supposed to do.
Right. So it's funny because like you said, a lot of what we endure is preparation for what's next. I remember there were times in my life years ago, I would confide in my mom and tell her, man, I'm sick of this and I'm tired of going through this. And she would just calmly say, baby, don't worry. God is preparing you for A, B, and C.
And you don't want to hear that, Dan.
No, like, come on, mama, come on now. I need you to, sympathize and take my side. And she was just like, don't worry, baby. God is using this to prepare you for A, B, and C. And like you said, you look at it now, 5-10 years down the road, and you're like, wow, I see how that was preparing me. Now you can appreciate that preparation.
Yes, you can appreciate it. I remember when I met your mom when I attended your church one time, and your mom's spirit, like I never told you this, your mom's spirit reminded me so much of my mom. Like when I hugged her, I was like, I could feel my mom. Like it was just that good, loving spirit, that understanding. But if she needs to be firm, she can do it. But she does it in a way to where you can always come back and talk to her.
Yeah. You're right. You're right. And it's funny now I find myself counseling my mom and I can look at her face like, boy, if you don't get out of my face. But she'd be like, baby, I'm listening. I promise. I'm thinking, yeah, right, mom, you ain't listening to me. All right. So would you say it's difficult to be a football coach and remain faithful to God?
No, I don't think it's difficult. I don't think it's difficult.
Because I got a juicy, loaded question coming.
I know you do. I know you have something coming. I know that.
Yeah.
I don't think it is. Well, it depends on how you rate difficulties. You know what I mean? You have to let your no be your no and your yes be your yes. You know, in regards to your team, and you know, you're going to have kids that come from different walks of life, different religions, different beliefs. You can't waver on your convictions, and I don't try to place my convictions upon them. I just try to model what my convictions look like.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's kind of a fine line with education and, you know, bringing in the relationship with God and how FCA works with that. Some schools are for it, some aren't. You know, it's a fine line, and you really have to be careful. But I'm never going to not say that I'm not a believer in God. I'm never going to act like I don't pray.
You're not going to hide your light.
No.
You're just not going to force them to accept your light.
I'm not going to force it upon them. And, you know, and just by me being the man I'm attempting to be a model for them, it'll eventually come into fruition for them, you know, in one shape, form, or fashion.
All right, here comes the juicy one.
Okay.
All right. So what would you say to a person that thought football was totally opposite of God's character? I mean, think about it. Violent. You got to be like, go after it, take for yourself. You know, every man for himself in certain situations. You know, it's like you got to be ruthless. You got to be, you know, I mean, because in football, you can't be tackling like, did I hurt you? You know what I'm saying? You know, you got to bring the pain. Otherwise, you're going to feel more pain. So what would you say to a person that thought, man, this football can't be of God because God is not blah, 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 blah?
When I think about football, in a sense, football, well, let me say this. That's a huge misconception about football, in my opinion, because some of the most meek and mild people are some of the best football players. It's a on and off switch of being competitive, you know, and in a sense, I'm not saying that, of course, Jesus or God had to compete with anyone, but essentially he had to show the people that he was willing to be normal and regular like them. And it's okay for us to eat with the tax collectors, eat with the prostitutes, you know, pray with them. I think football brings about people that you probably wouldn't deal with in any other circle, you know. And a lot of coaches are ostracized for the types of kids that are on their football teams, you know, which is tough. You know, football is an outlet for some people to get an education. You know, it's just an outlet to stay off the streets. It's an outlet to be around other positive men, other positive teenagers your age. I think it coincides. I get what they're saying, but you know, you can say that with anything. You can say that about basketball. You can say it about hockey.
You can't say that about basketball.
You can say that about lacrosse, you know. But to me, I think that it just is so much indicative with life of football, just getting knocked down and getting up, and experiences, you know, just persevering, having faith. It deals with a lot of faith. Like, I got to believe what these coaches are teaching me. Maybe I won't get knocked out as much, you know. You know, it's
my mama say, my mama hit him with the Bobby Boucher.
It's just it's belief, it's faith, it's organization, it's all of those things rolled up into one.
Everybody using their gift. You know, your job is you have one job to do, and that's to keep the ball on the inside. Don't let it get to the outside.
Exactly.
You do your part, then you know, one of my favorite verses, and this was matter of fact, the last like big team meeting I ever had, my last year of coaching, I printed out from the New Living Translation the verses that talk about, because I'm not the eye, I'm not part of the body. And it was Paul explaining how every part was so important. But sometimes because I'm not the eye, I'm the ear, I feel like I'm not as important because I'm not the eye. And so we read that. So they didn't realize they were reading scripture. It was just like a story, basically.
Yeah.
And I asked them, what does this mean? And one of my seniors, she said, it doesn't matter who gets the credit for things. And I was like, exactly.
Ding, ding,
I
ding.
said, Brianna scores most of our points, but Brianna can't score the points if Kia doesn't bring the ball up the floor without losing it. Kia can't bring the ball up the floor without losing it if Cupcake doesn't rebound.
Right.
Cupcake won't be able to rebound unless Amanda's playing great defense on her man, which makes her man take a bad shot. Everybody's important. And I think they bought in from day one. And that's the reason we had such a successful year. You know, I borrowed the championship ring. It was a Hillsborough football ring from Jostens. They had came to the building and they were doing senior, stuff for the seniors. And I asked them, would you allow me to borrow one of your championship rings for a demonstration? And they let me borrow it. It was huge. I had the girls, each girl take it and put it on their finger and try it on. And I said, why can't we have one of these? Why? Like, who's to say that we at Glencliff High School can't earn us a state championship? And I think from that moment, they bought into the vision and they came to work every day. I had girls who rode the city bus from across town. They had to get up 2 hours earlier than everyone else so they can get to school and stay in our program. And I would always tell them how much I appreciated that, because they didn't have to. They could have gone to the school that they were on that side of town and maybe or maybe not have played, but they chose every day to get up, get on that bus and ride across town to be a lady coach. And I've never, ever taken that for granted, And, that's the kind of stuff, like you said, that gives you the great joy as a coach to know these kids believe in me. And because they believe in me, I got to do my role to the best of my ability as well. I've got to study. I've got to watch this film. While they're asleep, I'm still watching film. And I take that back. Sectional game. The first game of the section, we were playing against Ravenwood. I'm not sure if you came to that game or not, but
I was at that game.
Yeah. Ravenwood was the best team on their side. So I watched so much film on Ravenwood that I knew all of their inbound plays. I knew all of it. And so I showed the videos to the girls. I broke the clips down to like 20-second clips. I had them write out their plays on the board. So when Ravenwood went under the basket and they called out their plays, my girls started going, okay, she's getting ready to go over here. She's getting ready to do that. And Ravenwood was like, how in the world they know everything we're doing? I think they scored 8 points in the first half. That's how well we played, and it was like they bought in and they believed. And I think as it relates to our spiritual life, when we learn to trust God as our coach and we buy in and we believe, man, what we can accomplish then is like, it's beyond what we ever thought was possible. It just goes over our head. So I did a lot of research and studying. I checked my concordance. I checked my Bible dictionaries. And I have come to find out that God is a Vikings fan. So, it's in my Bible, the three translations, the lexicon. I just want you to know. So you feel free to switch over from them Steelers. All right. So what's the most spiritually rewarding thing you've experienced from football?
Spiritually rewarding. I had a player at Maplewood who just recently graduated from Austin P. This is a young man that wasn't as focused on football at first. He thought he was a baseball player, which I totally understand that, very good sport to pick up. But I would tell him, I was like, man, if you just he was a pretty good student and kind of devote your time more to football, I think you're going to get a couple of offers. And he actually had an offer from Austin P on the table. didn't show up to practice a few times, so they pulled the offer. So he ended up having to walk on at Austin P, the school where he had a scholarship from.
Wow.
But I said, go up there. You're going to work hard. You'll earn the scholarship back. And he did in 2 years. Like, he was driving up to Clarksville for winter conditioning that starts at like 6 in the morning and stuff like that to work and gain that back. And he called me and told me, like, Coach, I never could have done that without you, you know, just pushing me and believing in me, even when it seemed like no one else did, you know. Yeah. So I definitely appreciate him for that. You know, there's a few other kids that I could think about that, you know, that kind of latch on to you. You know, I don't know if it's the fact that they're looking for a father figure or just somebody who kind of looks like them, you know, that's kind of doing it the right way, you know, but those things are quite profound in my life when those kids can come back and say, Coach, I appreciate you. You know, right. I didn't really appreciate it then, but now what you were telling me, I totally understand, you know, and now I'm a father, you know, now I'm a head of a household, and just some of those things that you were teaching us is I have to kind of do now.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah. All right. Same question as relates to fatherhood. What's one of the most spiritually rewarding things you've gained from fatherhood?
Appreciation, I think. I appreciate when my sons tell me they appreciate things that I'm doing for them or have done, or just when we have conversations. You know, my boys are 10 now, so our conversations are getting a little bit different because they're starting to see things,
right,
and to ask more questions, particularly with what's going on in the spectrum of the world with people who look like us now. You know, so I'm gonna be honest with you, I was kind of feeling a little hopeless with the amount of Black people that were kind of, you know, well, not kind of, but being killed by the police. You know, as a father, I felt like, how do I protect my sons?
Right.
What can I say to them?
Right.
I'm not always going to be with them,
you
know, and I can't keep them in a bubble, you know. So I think about those aspects and those things, and just the fact that we have an open relationship right now, that where we can talk about everything. And I think that's a huge thing that our community is missing, is that being able to talk.
Yeah.
I was able to talk to my dad, but I think my relationship has transcended because I learned from that, and I have applied to always being open with my sons, and they're open with me. A friend of mine, we talked about how we never saw our dads in anything but work clothes. I don't remember my dad owning a pair of jeans. It was always a work uniform. Or when we went to church, it was either church clothes or a work uniform.
That's funny, right?
like I said, man, did my dad ever get to relax?
Right.
Did he ever get leisure time?
Right.
You know?
So you as a youngster, your dad and your mom, y'all didn't go on vacations and stuff like that?
I mean, we went on some vacations, but I just never saw him like sit on the couch and was like,
right.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
He was probably plotting the next move he had to make and
make some more money for the family.
Right. Yep.
You know?
You're right. Which goes to show you how blessed we are, and the sacrifice that they've made has put us in a position where we can have these moments with our children, like you said, because definitely I'm in the same boat as you, looking at these videos, and, you know, you can't help but to play the what if game. What if that was my son that endured that? What if that was, you know, and it's heartbreaking. And the only thing you can do is, like you said, keep that door of communication open with them, keep training them, keep guiding them, in hopes that if they ever find themselves in a situation, that they will be calm and respectful and honorable, and they'll make it home to us, you know. And, you know, a lot of it's out of our hands as it relates to, even though we've taught them everything right, they still might not make it home to us. Right. And that's the most heart-wrenching part, because I'm like you. I take pride in bringing my sons up in a way that they will be honorable men. honorable to everybody. So I'm very cautious to let them hear anything negative about any race. I don't want them to hear negative about police, because then you have a biased mindset. How do you get pulled over and it's kind of like that parent who bashes you as a coach. And the kid comes, and the more you're coaching him, the more he's resenting you, because at home, all he keeps hearing about is how terrible your coach is. Yeah. Right. So if we keep pounding in our children's heads about how awful police officers are and how awful Caucasian people are, they're going to have a bias toward those people, that they're, no matter how many good ones come into their vicinity, they're still going to push away. They're still going to struggle to be free in that moment. And that's what I don't want, And so I'm very careful to let them hear anything negative about anybody, And, but yeah, that's the tough part of being a Black father, and especially now in this day and time. I'm praying that, more good will come out of this than bad, which I really do believe more good will come out. I just don't want people getting hurt in order for the good to come.
Out. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. All right. So we're still talking about fatherhood. What's one thing you want your sons to see within you that will point them to Christ?
Faith. Definitely faith. And consistency. I think a lot of times we struggle with being inconsistent. I heard someone say that oftentimes we're consistently inconsistent. Faith and consistency, just accountability, those things. We have an acronym for our football program, which is called COAT. And I tell them we're going to COAT, like
COAT.
Yes.
Put on your coat. Okay.
Yeah, put on your coat. We're going to put this on every day, rain, sleet, or snow, no matter what's going on. And it's character, optimism, accountability, toughness. So I think that you got to have strong moral character, doing what you're supposed to do at all times. Be optimistic that things are going to always work out eventually. And that's essentially faith,
Right.
Accountability. Doing what you're supposed to do, even when no one's looking, even when I probably can get away with this.
Right.
But should I do it? And then we got to have toughness. We're going to have to go through to get to. And my mom used to always say that. She said, you got to go through some valleys. It's the inevitable. Like valleys are going to happen all the time.
Yeah.
But it's how you endure those valleys.
Man.
She used to tell me that life is about learning how to dance in the rain. Learn how to dance. I remember she put that quote. I was at one of my lowest points, like, Mom, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, I'm struggling financially. I'm hurting. And she used to put that quote up. Learn how to dance in the rain. Learn how to. I didn't want to hear nothing about dancing in no rain.
Yeah, you were still in the robot on it.
Right. Like, Mom, I don't want to hear that, but I get it now.
Yeah.
I get it now.
So much wisdom. All right, so I got 3 more questions for you, and then I'm going to let you get on with your day. What would you say is the main trait that Christ displayed that you'd like to instill in your sons and in your players? And these can be different. They don't have to be the same. It doesn't have to be the same trait for each one.
In my players, and what else now?
In your sons. So
sons and players. Okay.
Right. So the main trait that Christ displayed that you would like to see your sons display, and the main trait that Christ displayed that you would like to see your players display. And they could be different. They could be the same, but they can also be different.
I would say empathy.
For both?
Yeah, for both.
Okay.
Like just understanding that people are going to be different, and that's okay. And that's one thing that I tell my classes at the beginning of the school year is that we're all different, and we're going to celebrate our differences. It's okay to be different. I don't want a classroom full of young men and women that are all the same.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to celebrate differences. Differences aren't negatives; they're positives, and we're going to celebrate those differences, and we're going to learn from them. And I think just them being empathetic to what people go through and what they're doing and how they do things. Just because it's different from me doesn't make it wrong, doesn't make it better. It just makes it different. And I think Jesus was, he was good at that, you know, seeing the good outside of someone's profession.
Yeah.
You know, looking at the person,
the heart of a man,
the heart of a man. Exactly. You know, and I think all the good coaches do that. They're able to reach beyond the surface.
Yeah. Find that diamond in the rough, huh?
Find the diamond in the rough. Yeah, exactly.
Man, empathy, that's a great one. All right. I know you like to stay sharp as a coach. I see that you do the coaching clinics. In fact, I just saw some you posted the other day about a coaching clinic. What are the strategies and principles you follow to stay sharp as a believer?
Oh man, I read a daily devotional, a coach's daily devotional. It's funny because it'll have a verse and a devotional along with it. And it's really a actual story from a coach and his experience as it relates to the devotional. And it's today's devotion. I get up and I read this every morning. Today's devotional was about jealousy, and I actually have it open right here. It was about jealousy, and the verse is from James 3:16. For where envy and selfish ambition exists, there is disorder of every kind of evil. So the last thing as a coach is you want selfishness and discourse within your team.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
No, this kid, oh man, he got 2 offers. I'm better than him. You know?
Right.
How do you put those
How come he always gets to run the ball on third down?
Right.
I ain't finna block for dude.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, so it gets into that. But I read a devotional every day. I can't do anything before that. Like I always felt like I need to show God that I'm putting him first in the day.
Yeah.
You know, like, so as soon as I get up, wash my face, brush my teeth, devotional.
Right.
Let's get it.
Right.
You know, I want to show him that I'm going to start my day with you. So lead me. I know I'm going to encounter something throughout this day where I'm going to have to reach back to you. You know, so just I'm trying to work on being led. Yeah. You know, and it's all about you and how you want to use me.
Amen.
So, you know.
Yeah. And thinking about what you just said as it relates to today's devotion, because I think coaching is probably one of the most cutthroat businesses that there is.
It is.
We spend so much time putting each other down. Your crosstown rival, it's like you look at them like they are a rival in life versus just a sport. It's like, I don't like him. Why? You don't even really know him. He just coaches across town at your school's rival. But why do we have animosity and we talk down on, man, look, dude, how he get a head coaching job? He don't get it. You know what I'm saying? Like where does that spirit come from? You know, and we have envy. Right. So, you know, when you mentioned jealousy, it made me think of that, because that was one thing I told myself when I became the head coach. I would never be that way. In fact, I reached out to another young black coach that was just starting out like me, and he was a crosstown rival. And I told him, no matter what, you and we will never let animosity come between us because of we coach against each other on the court. If you need me, I got you. Except for when we play each other. Now, when we play each other, I'm trying to smack that head now. I'm trying to win. But at the end of the day, we shake hands. You need me tomorrow, I got you. I need you tomorrow, you got me. And he was like, that's how it's supposed to be. And I'll never forget that. And that was the truth. He and I, even to this day, you know, periodically we'll text each other, check in on each other. And neither one of us are coaching now. We're doing separate things. But it was good to know that just because we coach against each other doesn't mean we're against each other. Right. And you can't allow that selfish, jealous spirit to invade, because it will tarnish your chance to have lasting relationships. Yeah, it will. You know, lasting, you like, okay, let me see, who's Hillsboro's greatest rival?
Maybe Pearl Cone. I don't know. Like, I don't even put, maybe Hillwood. I don't even put much stock into it, you know, because we, you know, with the metro school dynamic and playing each other, it's always a big issue,
And the reason I ask is I was thinking about, just say this. Let's say Coach Brown at Hillsboro and then Coach Jimmy Joe over at Maplewood.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of you two bumping heads and clashing, what you say is, hey, let's put on this camp for kids this summer. Well, we can't because me and you don't like each other. But you're the two best coaches in the city.
Right.
Now, if you come together, you could infect change in communities and lives forever. But because we don't like each other, man, that plan didn't work. No, we can't be like that.
You got to get off your high horse.
Like, that is absolutely right. All right, last question. And I love to finish every podcast with a special guest with this question. And you are definitely, sir, a special guest.
I appreciate it.
Insert applause. All right. So who is the one person that lived a life that resembled Christ before you so well that it inspired you to totally surrender your heart?
Ooh, man.
See, we love to give a shout out to that person at the end of each show.
I would probably definitely have to say my mom. My mom. She it's funny to talk about. Like, I've seen her upset, but she got upset in such a Christian-like manner sometimes. Like, it was like, really? Like, when she got upset with you, it was like, man, I have really messed up. And it made you feel so bad. Like, I'm the worst son in the world. I stayed out past curfew or something. Like, it's just everything.
So
everything she did.
Her humility and her kindness, it made you want to do right for her.
Yes, like I didn't want to let her down. I didn't want to let my dad down for other reasons because he might put hands on you.
He owned the belt.
Yeah, he owned the belt. You're right. But mom was like, it just, you didn't want to see that look on her face of disappointment.
Yeah.
You know, and she was such, I think I learned how to be such a giver because of her. Like, she would do for everybody and everyone, even if she had to give her last. Yeah. And I was like, in my head, I'm like, hold on, but we need something over here too.
Right.
You know, but she would that's just her.
And look what you learned from that. You learned empathy, like what you're trying to teach your players and your sons.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now remind me your mom's name so we can give her a shout out.
Maddie Brown.
Thank you so much, Maddie Brown, for raising such a great man. I mean, but you did your best. Right. We love that you loved him so much that he has turned out to be an all right guy.
Yeah, I'm all right.
Yeah.
Some of the time.
Well, Coach Brown, I truly do. I truly do appreciate your time, man. It's been a blessing hanging out with you. I pray that everybody who listens to this podcast or watch this video will be tremendously blessed by your vulnerability and your sharing your journey with them. And I pray that you guys have great success this year. I mean, we don't know what football is going to look like, but but I pray that you guys have great success this year. And I pray that you have continued success in your parenting and in your pursuit of God.
Man, you know what? I thank you and I appreciate that. And I want to thank you for just creating a platform, a forum for believers. You know, I think it's necessary that we need to have these conversations and just understand that we're more than just our Instagram page. You know, we're more than just our Facebook page. We're doing things that's going to help our people, and more importantly, our faith, the faith of our family, our community. So I just pray, just like you, that this is a blessing to someone else. Before we leave, I had a player that came and told me that he really appreciated some things that I had done for him. And I always leave him with this. All I ask is that you do for somebody else what I did for you. That's it. Pay it forward. Pay it forward. So as long as we continue to do that, we're going to continue to be a blessing to one another.
All right, man. Have a great day. God bless you.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
All right.